Welcome back to another episode of Seen and Heard podcast, where everyone should be seen and heard. I'm your host Sharon, and I'm joined today with my reparative justice mentor and friend, Ms. Henry Kennis. Happy Taxation Without Representation Day.
Yeah, okay. Taxation without representation is fine. hmm Anything but what they want to refer to it as.
Exactly. Speaking of which, if anyone isn't clued in, 3 days ago, the 6-3 right wing SCOTUS declared POTUS can be unaccountable tyrant. What are your thoughts?
So I'm going to do this with the utmost of protest. I don't really want to talk about SCOTUS, but since I've committed to being here, I'll talk about SCOTUS. I don't even know why we're having this discussion. I don't know why everybody's up in arms. I don't understand any of this. I see it, I'm smart enough to comprehend, but I don't understand. Donald Trump was the seated POTUS for 4 years. Donald Trump never hid his intentions. Donald Trump went in office on the first day saying he will be back and he will declare that he is the dictator. So any efforts for this country to declare that they are even moving towards a sense of democracy is dead anyway. So the best that you can say is maybe there are a few democratic ideals. Donald Trump has marching orders. It's not MAGA. It's not to make America great again. It's to make America white again. And he has done an excellent job of doing that very quietly while we sat on the sideline calling him Orange Man and talking about how crazy he was and all of that. Donald Trump was quietly seating judges across the country at the state level, at the local level. And look at what he did in SCOTUS. That Buffalo butt who was seated crying on TV, talking about how everybody was, disrespecting him and damaging his family relationship. He was guilty. Not all those women came forth and said the same thing. He was guilty, but he slid through and he made it. Now he's a lifer sitting on the Supreme Court, judging other people. Little Princess Amy, she comes along. She didn't know a thing. And you want to talk about who's qualified and who's not qualified. Hey, if it had been me, I would never have made it because they would have ruled me highly, highly incapable, incompetent, and unqualified purely because of the color of my skin. Little Princess makes it through. So there are two people for sure who are indebted to Donald Trump, whatever. But 6-3, six of them are going to always stand together, to include Clarence Thomas, who they're looking at for accepting bribes, I guess. They don't want to call it bribes, but that's what it is. So here we are talking about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's not the oh my God you should be talking about. These judges are seated, for life. And it's your children. If you are a baby boomer, it might be your great great grandchildren, your grandchildren. They're the ones who are going to have to pay the ultimate price for what Donald Trump quietly sat on the sideline, played the game, ate hamburgers and drank Coca-Cola soda and the whole 9 yards. Well, he was putting the infrastructure in place to do what he has been directed to do, and that's make America white again. So if we want to talk about something, we have to decide how it is we can unseat these judges and understand when you get in court, it's all about implicit bias. How can we unseat these judges so that your children's children do not have to pay the ultimate price? And last but not least, let's don't think that there isn't a place to send your children's children. The internment camps from World War II, Japanese Americans, they're in perfect condition. Guess who maintains them? United States government, National Park Services maintains them, and they are in great shape and great condition. So we have more to talk about than just what happened 3 days ago. That's my take. Thank you.
I have a comment from a friend of mine that was basically stating kind of what you were saying here at the end. And they were like, the people charged with legislating are corrupt. And so, how do we make changes to the structure that enables their corruption when they are in control of the lawmaking? Which that's been my question, but maybe worded in a different way.
Mhm.
And the fact that they've made bribery for themselves legal. So that came along with the SCOTUS ruling last week. They made bribery legal. They struck down any restrictions on corporations that are now free to poison us, and we have no recourse.
Well, here's the greatest thing. Everybody sat glued to their TV, what, 3 years ago now? Almost 4 years ago, on January 6th, everybody was glued to their TVs and they expected that these perpetrators who stormed the Capitol, the nation's capital, which that act in and of itself alone should have been translated into an act of high treason, but it wasn't. So now the SCOTUS has determined, hey, all they were doing was just reacting to what they thought was them being robbed of their rights as a human being and their constitutional rights more than as a human being, robbed of their constitutional rights. Well, there are 47 million of us in the diaspora. We're still trying to get some of those rights. And here you are talking about you being robbed of your rights and you have to storm the nation's capital. And then to say that all he did was do what anybody would do in order to assure that the voting rights were protected. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act has yet to be signed into law. That expired in 2020, and it
Mhm.
has not been re-entered into the system and come all the way to the system and on the other side and sign back into law. So we've been walking around for 4 years without voting rights protection, although I don't even understand it because foreigners come here and in a couple of months they're able to vote. And here we are out in the street acting all right, crazy and foolish, begging somebody to give us the right to vote or to protect our right to vote. And here we got these crazy people storming the Capitol because they are concerned that they may lose their right to vote. So as far as elected officials being criminals, I don't know that I'm going to say possibly, but I'm also going to say those people who have money get what they want. Just look around at the situation from the river to the sea, and I stand with them. Look at that situation. Those elected officials who stood up and said this is wrong, this is genocide. They are losing their they're losing their reelection in all the primaries. Why are they losing their reelection in the primaries? Because those folk who have the money and can put Joe, Blow, Tom, Dick, and or Harry up against them, and they got millions and millions of dollars to run the campaign for them. they are winning those elections against some of the people who are losing are some amazing elected officials who are not crooks.
And that's what I've noticed. And speaking of which, I want to play this clip and I want to get your thoughts on the other side of this clip because it seems to keep going from bad to worse. Like every day is worse than the last. But I want to get your thoughts on this video here. Hold on a second.
Sure.
Well, Professor, my great friend, thanks for filling in and doing a great job. Three things. Number one, in spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. No one in the audience should be despairing. No one should be discouraged. We ought to be really encouraged by what happened yesterday. And in spite of all of the injustice, which of course friends and audience of this show, of our friend Steve know, we are going to prevail. Number two, to the point of the clips and of course your preview of the fact that I am an early American historian and love the Constitution, that Supreme Court ruling yesterday on immunity is vital. And it's vital for a lot of reasons, but I would go to Federalist number 70 if people in the audience are looking for something to read over Independence Day weekend, in addition to rereading the Declaration of Independence. Read Hamilton's number 70, because there, along with some other essays, he talks about the importance of a vigorous executive. You know, former congressman, the importance of Congress doing its job, but we also know the importance of the executive being able to do his job. And can you imagine, Dave Bratt, any president, put politics off to the side, any president having to second guess, triple guess every decision they're making in their official capacity? You couldn't have the republic that you just described. But number three, let me speak about the radical left. You and I have both been parts of faculties and faculty senates and understand that the left has taken over our institutions. The reason that they are apoplectic right now, the reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Your thoughts on that? That was yesterday, and that was from the Heritage Foundation, the people that are behind Trump and propping him up.
So the hair raiser for me is it can remain bloodless if allowed to be left bloodless. So what does that mean? You're just gonna do what? Have a all-out war? Who are you fighting with? I mean, I don't know who you're fighting with.
That's a declaration. It sounds like a
So
declaration of war, and he sounds like an assaulter that says, just lay there and take it.
or just it doesn't matter because we gonna come to your neighborhood, blow it out, do it. No, excuse me, back up. Here's where I'm going to go with it. We're going to do to you what is being done now in Palestine and in Gaza. We're getting practice now so that if we don't get our way, this is what's going to happen, and you will be powerless and helpless to do anything about it. There's a poem, I don't remember it. First, they came for whomever, and I did nothing. They came for, and I did nothing. And then finally, they came for me, and I was the only one left, and I could do nothing. So for me, if what you're saying is if you all don't have your way, you are practicing, you've had 7 months, and by November you'll have well over a year. You have about 13 months of practice, and you'll know how to just come on in and create yet again another genocide. And
And
politics
apartheid state.
politics should never be about I get what I want by any means necessary at any cost. So that's my take on it.
And if anyone out there would like to chime in on that, we have on the ticker, you can leave a voicemail on the Speak Pipe link, or leave a voicemail on our phone line, and we will respond back if you have any questions. Also, in the comment box, feel free to comment because that's what this show is about. Everyone should have a voice, and we want to interact because we really want to get feedback and how you're feeling. So this is I'm just speechless because uh, being taught that you follow the rules, you do everything that you're supposed to do, take by steps, like go to school, get your diploma, go to college, get your diploma, work 9 to 5, you're able to save money, buy a house, and it's just like the whole thing was just a house of cards. It was just a figment of everybody's imagination, and it's a waking nightmare.
So I have a story to tell.
Okay.
Not only are we taught to do everything that you said do, we're taught to abide by the law. We're taught to obey the law. We're taught that if you obey the law, you are an upstanding citizen. In New Iberia, Louisiana, there's a little girl, 11 years old. Her mother sold her body to this next door neighbor. And she and her 15-year-old brother decided they couldn't take it any longer. So they came up with a plot, mostly the 15-year-old brother, but she had a small hand in it. And they killed this person, next door neighbor, Euro American male. They killed him. The little girl, 11 years old, they took her to court. First, they were taking her to, they charged her with second-degree murder. She's 11 years old. So then they got her to plead herself down from second-degree murder to being an obstructionist in this whole killing. First of all, I don't mean no harm. Please don't take it as if I'm being somebody who thinks I'm better than other people. That is absolutely not the case. She's 11 years old. I question whether she can even spell obstructionist or not, because I know a whole lot of adults can't spell obstructionist. And she probably can't even pronounce it without somebody coaching her on what to say. She got 7 years. She's in detention right now for being an obstructionist. And okay, so her mother was selling her body, but she had nothing to do with it. Her mother was selling her body to this man. And personally, I think he should have died. And I can think of some things I would have done to him before I let him be killed. I can really think of some things I could do to him before he would not have died an easy death. It bothers me that this little 11-year-old girl is going to be in detention for 7 years. She's in a detention center for 7 years for obstruction. What did Donald Trump do if he wasn't doing the same thing? I don't care if he was protecting his voting rights. He still was an obstructionist. And it looks like he's going to obstruction and walk away from it. And we said that there is no such thing as white male privilege and white sense of entitlement. I'm going to tell you what my Nana would say: the devil is a liar. It is white male privilege and it is white male entitlement. And this little girl at 11 years old in detention for 7 years, coming out at 18 years old, she's ruined. She's absolutely ruined. And here we sit up here talking about Donald Trump. We need to broaden our discussion, because this little girl she should not be in some detention center for 7 years. Okay, put a brace on.
Therapy, maybe therapy.
Therapy because he was using her body. Therapy because she didn't have the protection of a mother. doing what a mother should do, and that's protect her children. Therapy, because even the mother needs some therapy. How crazy can you be that you sell your baby to some white man for his fancy? No. Uh-uh. But here we are talking about Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Let's have a broader conversation and let's talk about how this impacts everyone. And if he can get off, then I think this little girl should just open the door and let her go on somewhere. I don't know where she's going because her mama in jail and her daddy said he don't want to be bothered. So I'm not sure where she'll go.
So
That's my
all
story.
of the adults are failing her. All of the adults are failing her.
And so am I. Society is failing her. All of the adults in her community, but also me. Society is failing her. You are
Thank you.
correct.
Thank you for sharing that. And we're getting close to time. So while we have a little time left, I'm going to play a couple of voicemails that we got. I think it was yesterday. So I'm going to play this first one. Let's see. And we'll respond after this.
Well, as far as I know, Trump is in trouble, and I don't really know who would be the next person to stand up for the current prime minister. You need someone young to stand up for the prime minister and try and take over, but someone that could benefit the world, because all prime ministers at the moment of the US don't even care for the world.
Can I respond to that one?
Yes, yes.
So Trump is not in trouble. Trump is going to win. It's just that plain and that simple. Who is in trouble is Joe Biden. Joe Biden is in trouble because, yet again, I just talked about it, white male privilege and white male sense of entitlement. Instead of him acquiescing and saying, you're right, I need to step down for the sake of the party. Instead, he's saying, I'm not going nowhere. I am the president and I'm going to run and become the president for a second term. There's nothing you can tell me about travel. He said he got confused because he'd been doing a lot of traveling. He ain't the only one who does a lot of traveling. And that's not his first rodeo. He's been traveling for years. Senator, vice president, all of a sudden he's confused because he's traveling. That's not true. He has some cognitive issues that need to be dealt with. And he is not Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan had Alzheimer's. Ain't nobody even know until years later that he had it. They protected him. They didn't let him go out there and do a whole lot of speaking. And he had a tight circle around him. Joe Biden did not have that tight circle around him. Now he has been exposed. So I don't see that Donald Trump is in trouble. I do see that Joe Biden is in trouble.
And mind you, we're not telling anybody not to vote because, yes, you have to exercise your right to vote. My parents sacrificed. There are other people in the civil rights movement that sacrificed. So please exercise your right to vote. But we still have to have honest conversations. Everybody should be free right now. At the moment, we should utilize the little bit of freedom we got, and you speak your mind and say what you have on your mind. So, uh,
And you
yeah,
can't just sit on the sideline and
mhm,
say, "Oh, we're in a world of trouble if you all
mhm,
don't race out the door and vote."
exactly.
There are those people who are telling you that you have to vote and you have to go and you have to vote for this certain person, regardless as to what kind of condition he's in. I'm not saying who you vote for, because if I
Mhm.
told you who I vote for, sometimes you would be surprised. I do not ever not vote. You can't say I don't vote, but it depends. I exercise the right, and we should all always exercise the right. But three three House of Representatives as of today have stepped forward and said, "You got to step down, bro. You just got to go ahead and step down." So I applaud them because they are taking the road less traveled and
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, you got to step down. And more people have to just come out and say, you have to step down. It's no sin to step down. The sin is to go in, win, and be there for 4 years, and you are messing up.
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford that.
We have time for one more,
Okay.
and this one is from Bella. Let's see what she has to say.
Yeah, this is terrifying. Project 2025 is terrifying. And right now, after I just watched your TikTok about it, I'm seeing on the news, the headline says Biden tells ally he's deciding whether or not to continue the campaign. And it just feels like this is the plan. This has been the plan. And it's happening, and not everybody, but so many people have been in denial or have looked away, and we're getting to a point where it almost feels like I don't want to say it's too late, but I'm really scared that it is.
It's never too late. The issue isn't so much Project 2025. That's what they're pushing down our throats. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Here's the issue. In 2040, in 2040, for the first time ever, this country will become a minority majority country, meaning there will be more people here who are considered to be minorities than there will be the folk who now are in the majority. So this country will become, for the first time ever, a minority majority country, meaning the blacks, the browns, the reds, the yellows, whatever, they're going to be in a majority. And those people who have, since the beginning of time, been a majority will become a minority. Can you imagine how frightening that is for them? Can you imagine, by any means necessary, what they will do and are doing to protect their majority status? I'm not saying Project 2025 isn't real. That's not what I'm saying. But the goalpost is 2040. What will we do if we lose our privilege, our entitlement? What will we do if we lose our majority stance? What are we going to do? What are white people going to do? How will we survive when those brown, blacks, and all those others are going to be a majority? What do you think they're going to do to us? The same thing we've been doing to them for the past 400 plus pernicious years?
That's what they're scared of.
Of course.
So, friendly reminder, there's more of us than them. And if you guys would like to support us in our programming, please do. I will have the links in the description box for you. Please leave your comments, voicemails, and we'll play them in the future show. And thank you again, Miss Kiddies.
Oh,
Until
you're
the
quite
next
welcome.
time.
You're
Yay.
quite welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye bye.
It's always my pleasure to see you. Peace.
Bye bye.